Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to LogiSYM Asia Pacific 2021. I'm your moderator for this afternoon's track with Mr. Brett Welsman. The topic will be how to effectively fulfill online orders with store orders. The recent acceleration in the online retail has left many asking how to get most out of the omni-channel. Understanding the differences between online and bricks-and-mortar selling and why the order profiles are very different is critical. Mr. Brett Welsman from SCHAEFER has spent the last 27 years managing and implementing integrated material solutions and paperless picking technologies with various customers. And we're looking very much forward to the presentation from you. Brett, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Marcus. Can you see my slides?
Very well.
Okay, I'll go right into it. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. I will be talking about how to effectively fulfill online orders with store orders. I think we all know that COVID has really kicked along the growth in online business, and that jump in growth, jump in volume will stay. But I think when we talk about online, we often think about pure online players like Amazon. But the reality is most of our retail customers who have a bricks and mortars business also now have an online business, and they have to deal with how do they integrate that online business with their store business. Often online in the beginning is treated as a separate business, and the fulfillment of the orders for e-commerce is separate to store orders. Sometimes it's done from stores, sometimes from a separate facility, sometimes outsourced to third-party logistics provider. And this may have some benefits in terms of business focus, but from a logistical point of view, it makes a lot of sense to fulfill both sorts of orders from one distribution center, even though there's little doubt that online orders are much more challenging and difficult to deal with than store orders. So my presentation today is about how to deal with both types of orders effectively from one facility, including a few case studies. As I said, it might make sense to treat online orders separately at the beginning when starting out, but as volumes grow, it makes a lot of sense from our point of view to take an integrated approach, that is to fulfill both types of orders from one facility. Generally, the SKUs for online and store orders have a very high overlap. So if we are able to fulfill both types of orders from the same facility and more importantly the same inventory, then we're going to get a lot of benefits in terms of lower infrastructure costs, lower overheads, lower order picking costs, and lower inventory. We're not duplicating the inventory. And we can also have one single warehouse management system with centralized data with all our information on customers' products and inventory. However, as I said, there is no doubt fulfilling online orders is more challenging than fulfilling store orders. Why is that? Well, there's a number of characteristics, and you probably know most online orders are relatively small, maybe 1 to 3 order lines. There's some exceptions such as grocery, but generally they're small, and small orders are less efficient to pick and fulfill than store orders. Often a high number of SKUs, just similar to a store or even more. And with online business comes a high percentage of returns, and sometimes returns are dealt with in the store, but many times they have to be dealt with at the distribution centre, and with that is a real headache, and sometimes returns are 30–40% of the volume. Online orders require special packing requirements. Store orders, we can send the items to store in a dirty old box, it doesn't matter. But of course, with online, we talk about the out-of-box experience, and so there may be gift wrapping, there may be special messages. A lot of items are packed into satchels rather than cartons, so that adds extra labour in the fulfilment of online orders. Fast response time is another big requirement. Vendors differentiate themselves by being able to deliver faster next day or same day, and the pressure there is growing all the time. Very high peaks compared to average. So if you think about Black Friday, typically Mondays are a higher day because orders accumulate over the weekend. Promotions, things like back to school, and a lot of times the peaks can be 2, 3, 4 times the average day. And of course, unpredictable growth rates. Customers come to us and say, we want to do something to help with our online orders. We say, what does it look like today? And they say, it's this number, and what do you expect next year? No idea. It could be 40%, could be 400%. So it makes it very difficult to design automation when it's so unpredictable. One of the other things is, as I said, it's actually very hard to get efficiency when picking small orders. So just to illustrate that point, if you imagine you're looking down on shelving, if I had one large order of 20 order lines to pick, then I might have a pick path that you see in red there. But then if I had 10 small orders, each with 2 order lines, I'd have to pick them each individually. And so I'd have to pick one, then the other, then the other. And what ends up happening is I might be picking the same number of items, 20 items, but I'm traveling 2 to 3 times in a normal, person walking around a warehouse scenario. So it's very hard to get efficiency on small orders. Moreover, with store orders, I'll get some full pallet picks. I'll get quite a lot of full case picks, which are generally low-cost picks. I don't get those with online. Online tend to be piece picks. Or some case picks, but mainly piece picks. And if I have an example of 20,000 order lines a day with store orders, I might be picking a lot of big orders, which is efficient, and shipping maybe, I can pick straight in to the carton and ship maybe 2,000 cartons a day. If I have 20,000 order lines in online, I might have 10,000 different orders, each of only 2 lines. They probably have to be picked into a tote. That's 10,000 different totes, and then they have to be repacked out of those totes. So a lot more labour, a lot more work, simply to fulfil the same number of order lines per day. And I mentioned growth before. Store growth tends to be low because it's really limited by how quickly we can open new stores, whereas there's really no limit on the growth of online orders. And the growth in volume in online comes through extra orders rather than lines. We want that growth, but of course it's more difficult to handle. So what I want to do today is give you some ways of dealing more efficiently and more effectively with both online and store orders together. One way to increase picking efficiency is to batch pick. So what we mean by that is if you batch a whole lot of items for a big group of orders together, then the idea is to pick all of those items in one go. So you only visit the location for a SKU once during that batch. And moreover, you can sort the SKUs that you have to visit by location. So the idea is to take a trolley with as many empty tubs or totes as you can and just fill them up with SKUs. And by doing this, I can get very high batch picking productivity. Ideally, if I get enough items of a SKU in the batch, I can actually pick a full case, because that's then a really productive way to pick my items. The only issue is now I have to sort all those SKUs back out into orders. How do I do that? There's various ways of doing that. A common way is to use an automatic sorter, and there's various kinds of those. On the left you see a sorter with what we call a unit sorter with manual induction, where the items are scanned and placed on a cell. On the right is a high-speed cross-belt sorter where items are automatically inducted onto the sorter. And these are often used in apparel, and by using the sort chutes in a smart way, we can get quite a lot of destinations. However, you're probably thinking that's all very well, but that looks like a big investment, and you would be right. It is a big investment, so you need a high volume to justify that. But the other issue with sorters and online orders is that online orders tend to grow by the number of orders, and the more orders I have, the more destinations I need. And so that means in the case of an automatic sorter, normally adding equipment. So is there a lower, more flexible way of sorting to order? And the answer to that is yes. It's often called a put wall or put to light. And in this case, we have destinations which can be either cartons or totes, which is often the case in online orders, or even pigeonholes. And what happens is we take our batch picked items, we scan the item, and a light lights up and tells us actually where to put those items. So what we do is sort them by putting to a carton or a tote or a pigeonhole. And often these put walls, they may be single-sided, they may be double-sided. We could have packing behind. And so this is a relatively flexible way to sort out items, and it's quite scalable as well. So a good example of that is one of our customers called Country Road in Melbourne, and I'll show you a video of how they've used this technology to batch pick both store and online orders and sort them out to their respective destinations. Hopefully you can hear that okay.
Brett, we do not have a tone. I think we're encountering some difficulties. We do not have the tone for the presentation.
I'll maybe leave it go.
Yeah, it's mute, I would say. Yeah.
So is there a way I can change that, Marcus?
I'm checking in the back end.
Okay. Maybe I'll fast forward to, you can see here the batch picking into a large number of totes. And these items are then go to different putting areas. Here's the put to store area with the cartons. The cartons go directly to store. They're filled up and just pushed off onto the conveyor and then sorted. And here you see the putting of online orders to totes, which then go off to repacking. So that's the example of what I was talking about. Okay, apologies. It was difficult if you couldn't hear the sound. It was working in the test. You can still hear me now, okay?
Yes, Brett, loud and clear. You are back on track. Thank you.
All right. So second methodology I wanted to talk about was goods to person picking. This is reasonably well known, where we decant items into storage tubs, and then we have a pick station. You see a couple of examples there, where the product comes along the top, automatically brought out to the picker, and in the bottom level are the orders to be fulfilled. There might be multiple orders, in this case 7 different orders in our standard pick station, and these obviously eliminate travel time for the pickers. We get very high productivity, anywhere from 500 to 1,500 picks per hour, and we can use goods person picking for all sorts of item picking, both for store and online orders. We still have to deal with the fact that we have a lot of small orders in online. So one of the ways we can increase the efficiency of the goods person picking is by batching the online orders up to maybe 8 or 10 orders, and then sorting those orders back out at Repack using a put wall, similar to what I showed before. So I can show you another case study or an example of that with another customer in Melbourne, Haynes Brands. They have a large shuttle system where all the products are stored in storage totes. There are 5 goods-to-person pick stations, but then 20 repack benches for the online orders with put walls, and also a satchel sorter for the online orders. So the pick station looks something like this. You can see again the products on the top level. And if you look at the lower level, you'll see both cartons and white totes. There's 2 sizes of cartons. The cartons are for store orders. The white totes contain batched online orders. Up to 8 separate online orders are batched into those totes. When the and the same SKUs are used to fulfill both types of order. When an order carton is complete, it automatically leaves the station and goes straight to the dispatch sorter. Whereas when a online order is complete, it goes to a repack station. So you'll see the orders come automatically into the station and out. And see that online tote just gone out there. That goes to the repack station. At the repack station, the operator has a automatic label printer and a put wall with lights. They empty the plastic tote with all the items, then scan each item. Each time she scans an item, a light lights up in the put wall to show her which order that item belongs to. And by scanning each item and then putting to the flashing light, she's able to sort out the orders or the items back into their separate orders. Once an order is complete, the light goes steady, then all of the items can be taken out. She presses the button. At that point, the dispatch label is automatically printed. She takes the dispatch label, puts it onto the satchel, and then packs the items into the satchel accordingly. And on this side, we also have a dedicated satchel sorter. So when that satchel is full, she throws it on a takeaway conveyor, and from the takeaway conveyor, the satchels go along a belt and then are sorted into their various destination cages ready for dispatch. So it's an excellent system for fulfilling both store and online orders out of the one facility. One thing I should mention here is, regardless of what sort of technology you use for picking the orders, treating single piece orders always makes sense for online orders. So with online, you tend to get a lot of single piece orders where the consumer orders one item, because what you can do with those is batch all of the requirement together. Again, take a whole lot of empty totes, pick all of the single piece items batched by SKU, and you don't actually have to sort them, because you can send them straight to the repack bench. The operator takes the item out, scans it, a label is printed automatically, repack, and done. So you get all the benefit of batch picking without the cost of sorting. So it always makes sense to treat the single piece orders separately. So I've talked about some automation options there, and automation is great if you have the throughput for it, but it is expensive. You need to have a high throughput to justify it, and it's not always easy to expand or to flex when you have a lot of peaks or you have unpredictable growth rates. So not a bad way to deal with online and store orders is what we call cluster picking. It's a more traditional way where we take multiple orders. It's been used for piece picking for decades, where we take maybe 6 or 8 orders. Practically, you can fit 6 or 8 orders on a trolley, so that you get a batch effect. You pick the items and you put them in the right carton or tote. So with a trolley like that, you can pick store orders directly to carton, but you can also now introduce totes onto the trolley for online orders, and again, you can batch those online orders into the tote so that you get a higher pick productivity and sort the online orders out at a put wall. So systems like this we see as sort of very flexible on the one hand, and also relatively cost effective. So here you see a multi-tier shelving system to save footprint. We can pick both store and online orders out of there. Store orders go straight to dispatch. Online orders can go to the repack benches with the put walls, which you can see on the ground floor. And the beauty of a system like this is we can expand it in almost any direction. We can go up levels, we can make it longer, we can make it wider. And more importantly, if we have peak days or high growth, we can flex the throughput simply by adding trolleys and people. So it is a good way to start into online with store orders. The fourth methodology is an interesting and relatively new technology, which we call a carrier or pouch system. And what this is using hanging, what was originally hanging garment technology, but here used to transport carriers or pouches vertically. And those pouches or carriers can be different sizes. And again, we batch pick here, and then we take the batch picked items and place one item into each carrier or pouch. We get a good productivity in picking because we're batching. Ideally, we are able to get some full case picks, which are then even more efficient. But one of the other interesting things about this system is it's ideal for handling returns, because any returned items, single items that come back, can go straight into the system. Once we've got all the items that we need in a large batch into the carriers, we do need to sort them out, and the way that works is using something called a matrix sorter. So on the left you can see a little simulation of what that is, and on the right you can see a video how that works in practice. So in this little simulation on the left, we've got 100 items. If we sort those 100 items 10 ways, and we do that twice, we can actually not really sort, but actually sequence those items. We can put those items into a perfect sequence. So if you look at those items and you imagine that each colour represents an order, you can see what we've done is created a sequence of orders. So we're not now dependent on the number of destinations available. We can go to very high throughput with these systems, and each order is then grouped at the end. So you can see the first one, the 1, 2, 3 is white. We can just take the items out of those 3 pouches and repack it. So it's essentially batch pick, decant to pouch, and repack. That's it. So this is what a larger system looks like. I'll play a video for you. Okay, finally, one of the important things with online orders is repacking, and so I thought it was worthwhile just showing. Fortunately, these days there are a lot of aids, I guess, such as automatic document inserters, automatic label inserters. So if we are picking to totes and repacking, we can drop in the labels, we can drop in the invoice or shipping documents. There are automatic carton closers that deal with a range of different carton sizes, and also automatic bagging machines as well. And just a little example at the end here, this is Walmart e-commerce. There's a goods person picking system with some put walls for multi-line orders. The items are placed into a tote, which is then conveyed just a few metres, and you see on the right the documentation is automatically printed, and there's a bagging machine. You can see the bags coming out the end. So efficient and as automated as possible as we can make repacking is really important because it's such a large part of fulfilling orders. Thank you for your attention. That were all my slides.
Brett, thank you very much for the presentation and talking us through to the various stages of online inventory management and fulfillment. We can clearly see your passion and knowledge along that field, so we really take time to appreciate it. We are running a little bit short of time. There have been a few questions asked, and I would pick one for the closing session, Brett. That is been the one question asked by Sushil is there a process to move item storage location based on picking frequency to reduce the traveling time? I think you mentioned it in the previous slides, but maybe you can give a short update on that.
Yes, generally there is. In manual storage, we would still try to slot the faster movers closest to the conveyor or the pickers. Similarly, in most goods person systems, depending on the configuration, we would also try to put the faster movers close to the front, so that we actually increase the efficiency. And also, you know, in automated systems, we often have what we call a housekeeping system, so that, you know, we can actually rearrange fast movers to the front and slow movers to the back, if that's the basis of the question.
All right, thank you. I think that gives the feedback on that question. I will close that session. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Brett Welsman, Managing Director of SSI SCHAEFER Australia, for the presentation. I will end this session now, and the audience, please stay tuned for the next session in shortly to come.
Thanks very much for your attention. Thank you. Bye-bye.